Welcome to the Den, the Dark Entertainment Network. I'm the Gothic Rose, and this is the dark tale of the day. Yes, dear fiends of the Den, the Dark Entertainment Network is a channel where the news meets conspiracy theories. It makes babies in my brain and it comes out my mouth. We explore the darkest stories from the deepest corners of Hollywood and the world. If you like this sort of entertainment, be sure to like, follow, and hit that bell because I am not going to stop. Yes, dear fiends of the den, I am back with more haunted history of Hollywood. We have to talk more about the incomparable Mae West because before Marilyn Monroe whispered, Mae West roared. She strutted into Hollywood draped in sequins and sass, daring the censors to blink first, and she was already 38 years old, well established in her ways. But when the Hays Code slammed the door on screen sexuality, Mae West did not retreat. She got clever. So, in this episode, we're going to dive into the battle between a woman who dressed to provoke and a system designed to suppress. So, this is Corsets and Censors Mae West War with the Hays Code. O history, thou art repeating itself about 100 years later. The Hays Code, officially known as the Motion Picture Production Code, was a set of moral guidelines that governed the content of American films from 1934 to 1968. So this was Hollywood's attempt at self-censorship to avoid government regulation after a wave of scandals and public backlash in the 1920s. Oh, history. It only repeats itself if those in charge want it to. So, what is in the Hays Code? Well, it was created by Will H. Hays, a former Postmaster General and Presbyterian elder, who became president of the Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America, MPPDA. So, the purpose was to clean up Hollywood's image and prevent films from immoral behavior, and its enforcement began strictly in 1934 under Joseph Breen, who led the Production Code Administration. How much you want to bet that this was a bunch of men with absolutely no film experience, no Hollywood experience, no experience in anything other than religion? Sound familiar? Because I told you guys, Hollywood and government, they have been besties for regulation purposes. Allegedly. So here is what the Hays Code banned or heavily restricted: sexual innuendo and suggestive clothing, which was Mae West's specialty, profanity and obscenity, depictions of homosexuality, miscegenation and abortion, sympathy for criminals or ridicule of law, excessive violence or drug use, and lustful kissing and white slavery, which is a euphemism for prostitution. And if you do not know the word miscegenation, it is incredibly derogatory and it refers to a sexual relationship or reproduction between people of different ethnic groups, especially when one of them is white. So there is some history for you of how Hollywood censored itself to avoid government regulations. And you can see this happening in 2025 with the current administration and what is going on. So, as I said, history only repeats itself when those in charge want us to. Here's why all of this mattered. It shaped the tone and style of Golden Age Hollywood, especially genres like film noir. Stars like Mae West became icons by pushing the boundaries. Her sultry style and double entendres were constant battles with the censors. And the code began to crumble in the late 1950s due to foreign films, rebellious directors, and court rulings, and it was officially replaced in 1968 by the MPAA rating system, which is rated G, PG, R, etc. And I think we have Mae West to thank for all of this. Why this mattered for Mae West is because she had to redo a lot of her fashion. She had to redo a lot of her double entendres and her writing and make it even more clever. So the pre-Hays Code, 1932 to 1933 of her career, when she was in her key films She Done Him Wrong and I'm No Angel, both from 1933, she wore very sultry gowns with plunging necklines. As you can see here, this pushes limits and boundaries for the 1920s. So, the double entendres galore, right? Mae West becomes this box office sensation and a cultural lightning rod, and her films are blamed for triggering stricter censorship. So, post code, 1934 to the 1940s, so Belle of the 90s in the year 1934 and Klondike Annie in 1936, she had more covered up costumes and more toned down dialogue, and her sexuality was implied but not shown. So Mae West's scripts are heavily edited, and she just keeps fighting back with all of this clever innuendo and flamboyant fashion, but her screen power dims, which was because of all of these censors. So this dress here during the time of the Hays Code was pushing boundaries, so they say. And that's simply because of the plunging neckline, and a little bit of it is see-through and it's quite flamboyant. But she did not really ever fully go away, even though the studio dimmed her light. Nothing could stop Mae West. She kept going late into her career with performances in Las Vegas and stage revivals in the 1950s and 60s. She headlined at the Sahara Hotel in Las Vegas, performing a reverse girly show she called Something for the Gals, very cheeky. And she revived her classic play Diamond Lil and even wrote a new one called Catherine Was Great about Catherine the Great. And of course, she played the lead. And at age 73, Mae West hired a garage band called Somebody's Children and recorded her first rock album in the year 1966. So she was something. Covers like Twist and Shout, Treat Him Right, and a remake of the Beatles' Day Tripper. And of course, Mae West declared, I invented the sexual revolution when asked about the youth movement at the time in the 1960s. Now, her final film was called Sextet in 1978. At age 86, she starred in this movie, Sextet, playing a glamorous movie star who marries a much younger man, played by Timothy Dalton. The film was panned, but Mae did not care. She was still Mae West, unapologetic, outrageous, and in control. Mae West did not fade away. She evolved. Even late into her 70s and 80s, she challenged ageism, censorship, and cultural norms, as always, a true Brooklyn girl. Her late performances were less about critical acclaim and more about owning her image and defying expectations, which I believe she did. And thank you to all who love Mae West and have been watching and just checking out the haunted history of Hollywood. I am in the talkies. I just did a lot of the silent films, and we're talking a lot about Hollywood and Oscars trivia. So let's get to the answer to yesterday's question in the last episode. I mentioned the best picture at the first Oscars in 1929, and that was the movie Wings. It was a World War I war film, which is really interesting. This film was directed by William A. Wellman, a former World War I combat pilot, which gave him unique insight into aerial warfare, and he was chosen specifically for his aviation experience and promised to make, quote, the best goddamn war picture you've ever seen. It starred Clara Bow, the it girl of the 1920s, playing Mary Preston, a devoted girl next door. Charles Buddy Rogers as Jack Powell, a working class young man turned fighter pilot. Richard Arland as David Armstrong, Jack's wealthy rival turned comrade. Gary Cooper in a brief but memorable role as Cadet White, which helped launch his career. The story was written by John Monk Saunders, the screenplay by Hope Loring and Louis D. Leighton, and it was produced by Lucian Hubbard and released by Paramount famous Lasky Corporation. So we're going to go a little bit more into that film and some of its history as the winner of the first Academy Award. Thank you so much for joining me in the den. If you have any stories you'd like to share or would like to be a guest in the den, please email me at welcometothedenpodcast@gmail.com. Must be 21 and over. And if you like dark, creepy stories as much as I do here in the den, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And as always, thank you for joining me here at the Dark Entertainment Network.